It's cold again, so the beanie's back. Tomb Raider, the reboot. Released in 2018 and directed by Raw Uthang. Starring Alicia Vikander, Walton Goggins, Dominic West, and Daniel Wu. And a surprising appearance by Hannah John Carmen. She's only in there for a moment, but I recognised her. Production budget of 94 million, a domestic take of 58 million, an international take of 216 million, for a worldwide total of 274 million and a profit of 180, not including marketing and all associated costs. It took 3 movies, but this time the Tomb Raider actually raids a tomb. So, characters. Well, Lara Croft in this is really good, which, is important since it's the main character. This is a very young Lara Croft. This is her origin story, so to speak. This covers who she is and why she is the way she is, her choices, the different scenarios and situations that leads her to becoming the Tomb Raider. And I really enjoyed her character in this. I thought Alicia did a very, very good job at making this relatable, enjoyable, entertaining, sort of realistic, a young woman running around trying to survive in the shadow of her father, turning her back on her wealth and all the opportunities she has because, well, she doesn't want to accept the fact that her dad is dead. There's a lot of raw emotion in this character, there's a lot of vulnerability, and there's just, it's a very well done performance. She also turns into quite the effective little action star and is able to pull off the vulnerable yet incredibly tough persona that is needed for this character. So yeah, Lara Croft, quite thankfully, is an excellent character in her movie. Everyone else is just okay. The missing father, the ship's captain Lou Ren, the guy that she drags out on this adventure, they're okay. The henchmen are alright. The supporting characters, they're all okay. Walton Goggins, his villain, is really quite deranged, quite dangerous, quite a fearsome threat just because he clearly has lost pretty much all of his humanity. Without that level of performance, I'd say that this movie would have felt actually quite unbalanced. It would have been very, very one girl show, very empty. Wouldn't have really felt like there was much to play off in here. But thankfully, Vikander and Goggins really do work well together. There's a real chemistry there as the good girl bad guy routine. That was fun watching them together on screen. She felt as good an actor as Goggins did, and that's a big experience difference in there. So I was quite impressed. So the score for characters, look, overall I'm going to be giving them a 3.5. The characters certainly didn't give me any reason to regret this movie. Story. Well, the story is very Lara Croft or very computer gamey. It does seem to have a lot of elephants. Elephants? There are no elephants in this film. None at all. It does seem to have a lot of elements from the Tomb Raider 1 and 2 movies. But then again, no kidding, it's all kind of based off the same computer game. What I didn't expect was the time they took to tell Lara's story and set everything up to get to the island. They started with young Lara just struggling to make ends meet, doing what she can to make a bit of cash when she actually is loaded. She has billions of dollars. But she doesn't want to take them because that would admit that dad is dead. And to admit that dad is dead requires her to sign the papers which says that she's now in charge and then hand authority across the board. That sort of thing. And all those reasons for her not to take up the mantle and the money really wouldn't have made that much sense or seemed a little lame if they didn't spend the entire first act going over that, detailing that, really helping you invest in Lara's character. And then, bit by bit, they build in the mystery. They start to give the secret rooms, the secret recordings, the hidden files, the secret agenda and missions. And all the mystery stuff starts to build up about halfway through first act. By the time you get to the island, you're invested and you care. And by the time they finish on the island, you kind of buy into everything that's been happening because they set it up so well at the start. It's a very good example of storycraft. It makes you invest in a foolish concept and buy into it for the whole movie. And that's what makes it stand out amongst all the other computer game based movies. This one feels like a properly done film. So in that respect, it's really quite outstanding. I think I'll be giving story 3.75. I kind of want to give it a 4. I just can't bring myself to do that. Actually, no, I think I will give it a 4 because this story kept me engaged and I really enjoyed it as much as all the other 4 ratings I've handed out. So yeah, story gets a 4. Look and feel. Okay, this looks and feels really good. This doesn't look or feel like a computer game story. This actually has all the trappings of a high budget action adventure film. and they don't seem to spare any expense really when it comes to the way they present it. Never does this look cheap. Now, they're very controlled in their environments, they're very controlled in the way they use their shots. Everything's pretty much closed, exact locations. Not much has any chance to go out of scope, which is probably why they could focus so much on making it look so damn good. All the CGI and special effects they use in this are used in locations that you'd expect them to be used, okay? Like the shipwreck, the really good shipwreck. That was quite amazing. That was a very impressive scenario. It looked real. It felt real. I have a thing about wild seas and the potential drownings. That bothers me as a person, and I was getting a little bothered during this sequence. So yeah, it worked. The use of the beach, the use of the cliffs and the rocky formations and all the convoluted vines and rivers and dense jungles and stuff, it honestly felt like what they were telling you it was. I don't know enough about London to tell you if that looked accurate or not, but I didn't see any reason to think it was any other country. The only thing you might call it out on is the sheer volume of concussive damage that Lara Croft can take. She's bouncing from tree to rock to ground a lot, but she takes damage like Bruce Willis takes damage in Die Hard. She gets stabbed with a chunk of wood at one stage, has to pull it out, and then for most of the film, she's clutching that side. She's favoring that side when she's doing things. That was very nicely done. I did like that. So look and feel for this movie. Look, again, much to my surprise, I think I'm going to be giving look and feel on this a 4. It honestly never threw you out of the movie. For all the stuff it did, it actually looked the part every single time. Script and dialogue, aka this is the part where all these computer game based movies fall down. This was no different. It doesn't crash the ground and burst into flames though. It's just the weakest part of the movie. That's all. I mean, the presentation's pretty good, the line delivery is quite excellent between a lot of the characters, and the amount of effort that Vikander puts into all of her acting and the way she does it and all the emotions and the depth of character she runs Lara through, really well done. Excellently acted on her behalf. Some of the others, pretty much just dialing it in. Some of the others were very much standard fare for them. Goggins could probably sleepwalk through a movie and still give a really good performance. West, Wu, and everyone else in the movie, nothing fantastic there. Good enough, I suppose? No, they're good enough. They did their jobs, right? They fulfilled their role. They didn't ruin the movie for you. They just weren't stand out. They just weren't Vikander level of performance. Most of the really good stuff is in the first act though, highlighting her life and her world at that time. All that's really quite cool. The pawn shop owners were good fun. The Indian restaurant owners were also very clever. Tiny little scene, but just felt very natural. With all the couriers and at the gym, that felt a little clunky. Not terrible, but just, not as well polished as some of the other parts. And whatever else was happening, even if it wasn't that great, you're eventually drawn back to Vikander's performance as Lara Croft anyway. I do have to say that whenever you see someone being filmed when they've got a drawn bow, they move with a very specific fluid motion. They move with a real, tension to the upper body, which affects the way they turn, pivot, and look. And anytime you see someone not doing that, if they've got a bow and it looks drawn and they're just moving around casually, then it's not really drawn. That's a CGI appearance. While script and dialogue has a very high degree of polish, it is also actually quite pedestrian at times. However, the performance is given, raise it back up and save it, giving you a score of 3. Fun factor, well, to no one's surprise, I really enjoyed myself. This is probably one of my go-to action adventure movies now. An easy entry into my top 10 adventure movies, just to sit down and enjoy. It's so uncomfortable. Why? It's fast, it's action-packed, it's fun, it's dramatic, it feels real. It's occasionally funny, but they're not really playing this for laughs anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It makes you want to go and play the computer games every time. Definitely recommend watching it, especially if you didn't like the first 2. And I'm also very keen to see what they do with the sequel, because the sequel has been announced. It's apparently in pre-production, and they're looking at moving forward with characters from the previous film. So that also makes me very happy. So fun factor, yeah, I'll be going ahead and giving this one a 3.5. It's a good time, you don't regret it. It's one of those movies that you'll probably feel like watching, say, every 3 months or so. Final score, put them all together, get yourself an 18. Not really surprised there at all. This was some fun. As I said before, this is probably going to be the remedy if you didn't like the first 2. Not to mention the fact that it goes ahead and breaks the mold of computer game movies by being a good movie in its own right, under its own steam and context. But I'd love to know what you think about this one. Please comment down below or on the Facebook page. But yeah, there's my review. Hope you've had a good time. Hope you're having a great week and should make some time to go and watch a movie.